The reason why it's so important to start with a friend cleanse, and I'm sure a lot of you, how many of you heard that and you thought, oh my God, getting rid of people? Oh boy, I'm going to cleanse these friends. Yes and no. A friend cleanse is critical because the single most influential thing around you are the people that you hang out with. And if you have relationships that are toxic, if you have relationships that cause guilt, if you have relationships that are creating drama in your life, if you have relationships that are not equitable, guess what? That's creating the overwhelm. That's creating unhappiness. That's keeping you doubting yourself. If you have friends that have bad habits, guess what? That's making it really, really hard for you to change your habits for the good.
You are the product of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. You've heard that before, you know it's important, and the reason why it's so true is because of a concept in persuasion in that whoever is more confident wins. Whoever is more confident in their opinion on something, in their habits on something, is the one who wins and persuades and influences other people to join them, even without having to say anything. Just somebody being so confident in their own negativity, in their own world, and their own bad habits, without even telling you anything, you will naturally pick up on that thing and dive down that same negative rabbit hole with them. And that's the fight. Because if you are around people who are negative, who have the bad habits that you don't want to have anymore, it's not that it's impossible, but you're making it a lot more challenging on yourself to be able to pull yourself out of the hole. You are the result of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So let's say you want to work out. You want to work out, you want to be healthy. This is the year, you want to lose weight, you want to be in the best shape of your life. Amazing, right? But it's a new habit, and this is the problem. At the very beginning of a new habit, if we go back to the concept of persuasion, you don't have a lot of persuasion over yourself yet. You don't have a lot of influence over yourself yet on this habit because it's so new. So it's easy to get pulled in a million different directions. You're looking for any possible reason why not to do it. And if you have a goal to go to the gym every day, or you have a goal to eat healthy today, and then you see your friends around you just diving in on Big Macs and lying on the couch and complaining and being negative, you can fight that, but at some point that fight starts to wear down on you and your resolve isn't strong enough yet because it's too new a habit. And so what's likely to happen is you're going to go join them because they are more confident in their negative approach than you are in the positive approach. They have such a history with the bad habit that then they influence you to go back down that negative path. I remember hanging out with a very popular YouTuber, and he was asking, well, how do I grow even to the next step? And I love how consistent you are. He's talking about my channel, how consistent I was. And when I was with him over dinner, one of the things that I struggled with is when I travel, I usually let my diet go. You know, I'm traveling, having fun. I don't have my usual routine. And so, not that I would just smash Doritos down my face, but I would just eat whatever. And he was at a restaurant with me and he was eating really clean. He had a fish and salad and no dressing and just really, really clean. And he was waking up the next day, he was going to go for a run. Some of those habits are what I do here when I'm at home, but I don't do it when I travel. And so here he was admiring how consistent I was on making videos and having however many thousand of videos now on the channel. And I was admiring how consistent he was in his eating healthy and his working out. Now, what would happen if we started to hang out more? If we started to hang out more and we look at those two things, the consistency on making videos and the staying healthy. On the consistency of making videos, it's just part of me now. I'm so confident in my making videos and that I have to get it done that even if he was lying on the couch all day, not that he would, but even if he was, he wouldn't negatively influence me. So I would suck him to making more videos. He would be making more videos as a result of hanging out with me. It would just naturally happen without me even saying anything to him. Because here's what would happen. He might be on the couch, he might be getting distracted, might be doing something else. I say, okay, man, I gotta go make videos. And by me going off and making videos, it will motivate him to go make more videos. I don't have to say anything. Your actions speak way louder than your words. Don't tell somebody to go do something. You want to influence and persuade them? Go do the thing. And they'll see you doing it. Now it's in their environment and it's going to suck them in. So if we hung out together, he would be more consistent on the content. On the other hand, if we hung out together consistently, I would get healthier with my travel diet. If I traveled every time with him, then we would likely eat at more healthy restaurants. He would likely be working out every morning. I would likely join him on some of those. He would just pull me towards being a healthier traveler compared to what I am now, because he is so confident in that habit that he's trying to build. And so where we struggle as entrepreneurs is we're trying to build these new habits. We're trying to pull ourselves up to a better, brighter future, better place, more proud of ourselves, but we're still stuck with the people around us who are in a negative environment, who want to stay stuck, who just complain about where they are instead of actually trying to build something better for themselves. So if that remains your friend circle in the next 5 years, it's going to be really, really challenging for you to get to the place where you want to be. Okay, well, that's great, Evan. How do I change it? I mean, I don't want to just leave my friends. I don't even know where to get new friends. How do I start this process? There are 3 big strategies I want to give you that I think will really, really, really help. First off, you don't have to go off and tell all your friends, hey, you guys suck. I'm better than you. I don't want to hang out with you anymore, right? So step 1 is just do an audit. Just do an audit of your friends. Just do an audit of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Just think about it. In the past 2 months, who have you spent the most time with? And then how many of them make you feel better about yourself, where you leave them feeling more bold, more confident, more excited for your life, more ready to go and take on the big challenges that are ahead of you? And how many of them make you feel worse? How many of them you have to go home and have a nap? Or how many of them you just feel drained as a result of talking to them? Not that they're bad people, they're just in a lot of pain, right? Again, I don't think that there are toxic people. I just think that they're in a lot of pain. And hurt people, right? So if you're not strong enough yet to influence them, they're going to suck you down. So step 1 is to do an audit of your friends. Step 2 is to limit access to the people who are making you feel worse about yourself. Again, it doesn't mean you have to go and tell them that they suck. Just stop spending time together. As you spend less time together, you'll find that the relationship just kind of fizzles away. You don't have to have some big conversation. Just cut off access, spend less time, go out once a month instead of once a week, call them less frequently, stop doing things together. You'll just notice that as you spend less time together, you stop getting influenced so negatively. People are so afraid of breaking off a friendship because they think you have to have this really tough conversation. You don't. You just have to spend less time with them. Just look at your calendar, see how often you usually spend, and your goal for next month is to spend half the amount of time or a quarter of the amount of time that you spent with them as last month. That's it. That's step 2. It doesn't have to be some big break, doesn't have to be crazy scary, doesn't have to be overwhelming and massively painful. Step 3 is going to be to fill the void. So if you stop spending time with people, 2 things happen. 1, you get this void. It's like, well, who do I spend time with now? I have this extra time in my calendar. I've got these blocks. And the other thing is you start to feel lonely. You know, if you don't have that friend circle around you anymore, it's easy to feel lonely, which is maybe even worse than spending time with them. At least you have some kind of connection. We're settling for just okay relationships because we crave the connection, because you just want to have somebody around you, because it's better to be with that person than it is to be alone. And that's the biggest fear, is that you're just going to end up alone, that you'll never find anybody, even in romantic relationships, but also in your friendships, because it can be harder as you get older to join friend circles, to make new friends. It's why a lot of people are still stuck with the same friends they had in high school and university, because they never actually went to go out and search for new friends, because it's so afraid that you're going to be stuck alone. So in that vacuum, in that void, in that hole in your calendar now, what are you going to do? Well, the goal is to now meet new people. And you don't have to treat it like it's dating, it's a relationship. You just go off to the events and the people that you feel like you might have a connection to. So I'm introverted, I'm shy, I am not a people person, I hate networking events, I hate small talk. And so how I would do it, if you're extroverted, it's super easy. Just go and go to the events and hang out and say hi, I'm Evan, good to meet you. I never go up to anybody and say, hi, I'm Evan, it's great to meet you. What do you do? I never do that. So the easy way to do it is think about the clubs, the activities, and the events that are really interesting for you, that it's a lot more natural for you to have a conversation about. So if there was just a business networking meeting, I would hate that. I hate that kind of stuff where you have to explain what it is that you do and they don't really care or interested in. But finding common hobbies. So for me, I would pick entrepreneurship. I would pick League of Legends. I would pick salsa dancing, and sending into Minecraft. So maybe some Minecraft. I would pick something in those 4 areas where I could easily connect with people, that it doesn't feel like a chore to talk about because I love that topic. As a quick example, I was on an airplane and I was flying to Brendan Burchard's event in Puerto Rico. And so I was one of 2 external speakers coming in to speak at the event. And this is his high-level mastermind. These are people who are paying $30,000 to $50,000 to be in that room. And I'm flying down there, and I'm in business class. There's only one person next to me, and he's trying to strike up a conversation, and I just don't like it. He's like, "So, where are you going?" Like, "Well, we're going to Puerto Rico." Like, where are you coming from? I'm from Toronto, and he was coming up from Vancouver. And I hate the small talk, right? I hate the small talk. And so I think he kind of noticed after a couple tries that I wasn't really interested in talking to him. I didn't mean to be rude. It doesn't fulfill me. I'd rather just be by myself and alone and focus on what I need to talk about. And so we're flying down there, and I don't really know why he's going or what he's going for, what his business is in Puerto Rico, if he's speaking, if he's got an event, what. So we don't really talk for the rest of the way. Not anything rude, just we're in our own world. I get there and get in my my taxi or Uber, whatever, and drive to the hotel where we're staying. And as I'm checking in, guess who shows up right behind me? Right next to me on the counter. The same guy that I spent all this time now just sitting next to, not talking to, on the airplane. And he said, "Hey, you're here too." It's like, and as soon as I knew that he was here for Brendan Burchard's event, it's like, "Yeah, man. Are you here too? Oh my God, what's your business?" As soon as I found out that he was an entrepreneur, it's way easier to have a connection. And so we spent a little more time there chatting, spent a couple of moments over the course of the conference as well. But it's so much easier to make connections when you have a joint interest, right? If I know you're an entrepreneur, or I know you care about League of Legends or Minecraft or salsa dancing, if I know any of those things, we are instantly going to be friends and have something to talk about. But if you're just a normal human who maybe I don't know anything about, then it's a lot more difficult. So because you have this vacuum and you don't know who to connect with and you want to feel that connection and belonging with a group, don't let that hole and that pain drag you back to the circle that you know doesn't ultimately support you. And look for the events that are exciting for you to go to, for the clubs, for the activities that you are genuinely like, "Ooh, that'd be so cool to be able to go there." And you'll end up meeting like-minded people, and that becomes your new friend circle. And when that happens, when you hold on to good people like that, you actually stop even caring that some of the people, have kind of drifted or you've let go of at some point. Instead of spending once a month with them now, maybe it's once a year. Just catching up, or maybe you don't talk again, not again because you've had some conversation and they hate you. You've just grown apart. And the less time you spend with somebody, the more you're going to grow apart. You are the product of the 5 people that you hang out with the most. You've heard it before, you'll hear it again. When is the time to actually take the action? Do the audit of your friend circle. Do they make you feel better about yourself or worse about yourself? Stop spending as much time with the people that make you feel worse about yourself, and then fill the void, fill the vacuum with people who lift you up by going to events and clubs and activities that you genuinely care about. It's not just a strategy to make connections, but you love being there. You will meet some amazing like-minded people. Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
How do we start to heal trauma within our body?
Excellent question. So we did a whole project for Audible Original called Take Control. That was all about, the thesis was this: any area of your life that you're stuck, I am willing to bet everything I have that you have a trauma pattern from your past that you've never healed.
Mhm.
You got a boss that is abusive, guarantee you this has to do with a trauma pattern from your past. You can't succeed in the areas you want. You can't lose the weight. There's some pattern from your past. So the first thing is recognizing that you actually experienced trauma. And I am a huge proponent, as so many people are, of widening the definition, because I think up until about 5 years ago, most of us thought that trauma just meant, okay, you were in active duty, or you were in a huge accident or incident that was highly traumatic, or you survived some sort of physical, sexual, whatever abuse. Trauma is just about any kind of experience that you witness or you absorb that has your nervous system light up on edge and start warning you. So if you've ever had, you could have a critical parent and you just brace for them. You could have a parent that drinks like crazy and you brace at 5 o'clock because you know they're coming home. You could have been abandoned by a parent, or have a parent that was mentally ill, or have a parent that was so on your ass because they wanted you to be a pro football player. And so you were constantly on edge. It's when your nervous system fires up to a state of alert that now gets programmed into your body as a response. There's a reason why so many couples at 5 o'clock at night start bickering. And it has to do with the fact that at 5 o'clock is typically when a lot of parents 20 years ago were coming home from work. And that's when the arguing would start. And so what happens when you witness that or you feel it is, as a kid, you're now in a state where you're on edge. And one of the things that I've learned in my business is that the mistakes are where all the learning is. And actually, the mistakes and the imperfect stuff, that's where the gold is, everybody. And so as you're sitting there and you're thinking about doing stuff and you're trying to make it perfect and you're trying to come up with the right script before you make that cold call, or you're trying to make sure your body looks perfect before you put yourself out there on Match, you are missing out on your life, period. And so I hope that if there's one thing that I consistently inspire you to do, it's to start before you're ready. It's to put yourself out there and make mistake. It's to have yourself go live and have it look like crap, and all of a sudden you disconnect yourself, and to be able to laugh at yourself, to be able to shake it off. Like, that is a skill. It's a skill that means that you're self-aware. It's a skill that means that you're growing. There's a lot of you that are running from things instead of running to things. And that's a huge difference, running from something versus running to something. And so I want you to think about that for a minute, because you don't have to move across country to change your life. And you don't have to do something drastic to experience drastic positive change. And here's the thing about running away from your problems, running away from your past. Have you ever noticed that when you run away, it tends to follow you? You know, I used to have this problem in relationships. And the reason why I had this problem is because I was a very unhappy person. I didn't like myself truly as a person until probably 4 or 5 years ago. I spent, as sad as this is, I spent the first 46 years of my life really not liking myself, really feeling like I wasn't a good person, really questioning the sanity of people that were in love with me or that were friends of mine, because I had such a low opinion of myself. And it didn't matter. You know, I was guilty not of moving from one city to another, but I was guilty of moving from one person to another. That I would literally get in a relationship, I would be in a relationship for a year, and then I would start to feel that unsettled feeling. Because what happens after a year of being in a relationship? Well, you got to start working on it. It's no longer the thrill and the delight, and it's new and you're dating. Now it's just you and the person in your life. There's nothing new about it. And so all your old crap starts to show up. And that's when you got to start to do the work. And so it was about the year or the year and a half mark in almost every single relationship that I would start getting that itchy feeling. And the reason why I was getting that itchy feeling is because my past was now there. This new relationship was no longer new. And so I was no longer distracted by it. And I was going to have to deal with myself in order to be happy. And so what did I do for years? Not even just years, decades, everybody. I'm not proud to admit this, but I would literally jump out of one relationship and into another new one because another new one would distract me from the fact that I was an unhappy person. True story. And I think a lot of you who are unhappy with yourselves are looking to move jobs or looking to move the city that you live in, or you're looking to change your relationship. And the problem isn't where you live. The problem isn't your job. The problem isn't the person that you're with. The problem is how you feel about yourself. If you're not facing a breakup personally in your romantic life, you still want to pay attention because somebody that you care about might be. And this is advice that you can give to them. Also, breakups happen in your career. You might be breaking up with a work situation. You might be breaking up with a friend. I know a lot of us are working hard to draw boundaries and to surround ourselves with more positive people. And we get questions every day about how you do that. And so breaking up with friends can be just as traumatic as breaking up with somebody that is a romantic partner. I have 3 steps to getting over a breakup that I'm going to explain in a minute. But first, I want to explain some research to you to help you put what you're feeling into context. Because what you're going through when you break up with somebody or you're broken up with is you literally go through withdrawal. I'm not kidding. And yeah, I'm using the word withdrawal. Where else do you hear the word withdrawal? You hear the word withdrawal when you hear about people withdrawing from a drug. And that's a lot similar to what you're going through. In fact, there was a study done by neuroscientist Lucy Brown who found that, like drug abuse, romantic love begins with that euphoric feeling. It's a high, right? And when the drug leaves your body or the romance leaves your life, what are you left with? You're left with the withdrawal, which is a craving for it. Validate. Number 1, breakups are painful, but they don't need to lead you broken. So I want you to validate where you're at. It's great that you're asking the question. You got to have a little bit of compassion for yourself. You got to understand that you're going to be sad for a while, but please don't pour gasoline on the sadness fire. Please, please, please don't be staring at photos of your ex. Please don't be putting his or her social media face right in front of your face. It's going to make it worse. But definitely validate the sadness because you're going through a major change and it might not be a change that you wanted. Number 2, separate. This is the most important part because the other thing that I don't think any of us realize is that when you get broken up with or you break up with somebody, you don't realize how much of your daily routine and the habits that you have and the way that you go about your day was tied to the person that you're no longer with. And so what you're not only dealing with is not only missing the person, but your whole life schedule may have just been thrown off. Maybe you two went to the same gym in the morning. Maybe you got a text in the morning from this person. Maybe you liked your little FaceTime call at work. Maybe your friend group became their friend group. And now all of a sudden that you're broken up because you hung out with their friends all the time, you don't have that social life anymore. And so it is so important for you to recognize that you're not only facing the person being gone, but the habits that marked your day and the other people that maybe you hung out with and the things that you did with your time and the music that you listened to and the food that you ate, that those might have all been dictated by the person you were with, and those are changing too. So it's important for you to separate yourself. I think a lot of women in particular, when we get into a relationship, we tend to lose ourselves. We tend to morph into the person that we're dating. I used to do that all the time. And so now we get to the third part. As you start to think about separating, right? So you're validating where you're at, you're separating from this person. We need to get to the third part, which is celebrating you. Now that you're broken up, you have an opportunity. You have an opportunity to rediscover yourself because I guarantee you lost a bit of yourself in that relationship. And so as you think about the way that the structure of your day has changed, what can you proactively insert that is a celebration of the things that you stopped doing? What have you been keeping yourself from doing because you were in this relationship that would celebrate you? Who are the friends or family members or colleagues that really lift you up? And how can you find more time to hang out with them? This is a time to celebrate a moment when you get to rediscover you. I've looked into the research. There's only one habit and skill, just one, that has a direct impact on how much money you make, a direct impact on whether or not you get the promotion and the influence and the cash money that you deserve. And do you know what that is? Any ideas? The one skill, the one habit, the one thing that has a meaningful behavior change that impacts what you get. It's your visibility. You see, you don't get credit, you don't get paid for, and you don't get graded on the things that people can't see. In order for you to get what you deserve, you have to start being deliberate about your visibility. Behavior that you got to start learning to do, whether you're shy, whether you're introverted, whether English is your second language, it doesn't matter. You've got to learn how to speak up. You've got to learn how to share your ideas. You've got to learn how to talk about your business. You've got to learn to talk about your dreams and your goals. And I know for many of you, that is one of the most terrifying things in the world. You hate being the center of attention. The idea of speaking in a meeting at work and risking sounding like you don't know what you're talking about is really scary. The idea of asking for feedback from your boss or asking for a raise, really scary. The idea of going in and talking to your professor about adjusting your grade, really scary. The idea of raising your hand, I get it. I read your emails, I see the comments, but you've got to understand that this is the number one skill that you need in order to increase your visibility, wherever it is that you need to increase your visibility. The world doesn't need another perfect person. The world needs you. And you're trying your best. You're doing what you can. And, I think it's really important that you cut yourself a break and that you stop thinking that you have to be perfect. There are going to be days where you're an hour late to pick up your kid, and that's okay. There are going to be days when you can't get to every email, and that's okay. There are going to be days where you feel so underwater, and that's okay. You'll get through it. You'll figure it out. And you've got to understand that it's not about being perfect. It's about just being you. And that means that you got to be willing to start before you're ready. You got to be willing to do what I do every damn day, which is show up in my rollers or start a live stream and disconnect myself or start it and be talking and not even know that I'm broadcasting. You've got to do that version in your life or you're not going to get ahead, period. So instead of doing what so many of us do when we're broken up with and we go, I'm a loser, I'm unlovable, I'm not good enough. What I want you to do instead is I want you to put that opinion and judgment on the relationship itself. That relationship that's over wasn't good enough, wasn't worthy, and wasn't the right fit for love for you. Do not take that on as an internal judgment of yourself. Make sure that when you're judging it, you're judging the relationship and how it wasn't a good fit for you. You, my friend, are whole. You, my friend, are perfect how you are. And yeah, you may have to change. Yeah, there's things that you can do better now that you know better. Yes, there's baggage you got to deal with, but there's nothing wrong with you. There's just patterns that you need to deal with. That's it. You'll get the day where you celebrate, and that was yesterday. And you'll have that moment where you cannot believe that you actually got into the school that you wanted, or you got the job that you wanted, or you found the person that really compliments you finally, or that you got the raise that you wanted, or you built the house that you've always dreamt of. And then a funny thing happens after you actually achieve the dream. After you celebrate, life goes right back to the way that it was. And for me, what I'm present to is not the fact that this talk show is actually happening. I'm focused on all the work that I now need to do in order to do the talk show as powerfully as I can. And I think that the point that I'm trying to make about the fact that, yeah, you can achieve all the things that you're going for, but I've even noticed already in just 24 hours, like the crazy rise in emotion and excitement has already been replaced with things are back to normal. That is exactly what psychologists talk about when it comes to happiness, because happiness is not about achieving things. It's not about getting the result. It's about how you pursue the things that you enjoy and why you're pursuing them. And so the key to life, and I'm seeing it happen in my own life, is not actually checking the boxes and getting all those things that you dream about. It's how you go about living your life as you're pursuing them. Because if I were just going to boop, check the box and now I'm done, biggest goal of my life to have a daytime talk show, just achieve that, boop, what do I have to look forward to? Nothing if you've already achieved it, which is why it's so important for you to understand that the real meaning of happiness is about how you show up every day. Yes, you should have big goals. Yes, you should have big dreams. Yes, 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 and yes, you should pursue them. Don't ever think that, quote, making your dreams come true is what actually makes you happy. Because what actually makes you happy is having those big dreams and waking up every morning and doing a little something to push yourself to make them happen. It's about the pursuit. I think it's really important for your personal boundaries to use what I always talk about, which is empathy. Understand that anybody that's acting out, it doesn't excuse the behavior, it explains it. And it also allows you to separate yourself emotionally. That person is likely miserable. That person has a bad life, which is why they treat people badly. And so if you can start to really use empathy to put it on them versus making it that they are doing something to you, that can help you from getting hooked emotionally. If you start shifting the dynamic, and here's how you do it. You do it by being a fan. What do I mean? I talk about this all the time. If you Google Mel Robbins being a fan, you'll probably come up with 10 different videos on YouTube about this philosophy. It's a philosophy about leading with appreciation. It's a philosophy about cheering for other people publicly. Because what happens when you cheer for other people is you naturally trigger the law of reciprocity. And even the biggest jerk face, even the biggest curmudgeon, even the biggest, most competitive person on the planet, who might be competitive, by the way, because she's paying for her parents' nursing home bill. And she's feeling stressed out, and she's also divorced. I mean, who knows what's driving this competitive nature? Maybe it's a sense of scarcity and fear and insecurity. And so the opposite of competition isn't more competition, it's connection. And you create connection by cheering for people. The majority of people lack self-awareness at work. You get that? The person who's disrespecting you likely doesn't even know what they're doing. The person who's taking his or her anger out on you likely doesn't know how it's impacting you. You see, when people do this, when they have these kind of toxic patterns, they've been getting away with them for so long because nobody has had the courage to cross-check them verbally on it. And that's where you come in. Lucky you. You're in their life because your purpose in their life is to be the one person that has the courage to actually sit down and have a candid conversation about it. So what are you going to do? How do you have that candid conversation? First of all, try not to make them wrong. Try not to come in and shame them and tell them all the horrible things they're doing, because you'll immediately create a situation where they're defensive. And if the research bears out from Harvard Business School and they actually had no idea that they were doing it, they might get defensive. The better way to do it, the more effective way to do it, is to explain how their behavior impacts you. And when you do that, most people are mortified, because most people are venting or are disrespectful, and they're not even thinking about the impact it has because nobody's ever told them. One of the things that is really important in life, and I want to acknowledge my team because they're really good at it, so is my family, roll with it. Roll with it. If something doesn't go perfect, guess what? Roll with it. That is both my favorite hairstyle, since I'm always putting rollers in, and it is my favorite philosophy in how you manage life. Just roll with it. Seriously, there's no such thing as perfect. There's only a perfect meltdown that you can cause for yourself if you cannot learn how to let go and roll with it. The most important thing, hang out with people that cheer for you. This is so important. I can't say this enough. Behavior is contagious. They have proven this. Google the Framingham study. It was a really famous heart study that was done where they looked at human behavior over what's called a longitudinal study, which basically means they studied people for a number of years. And they found that you catch the behavior of other people. If you hang out with smokers over time, your objection to smoking lowers because you're hanging out with smokers and you become socialized to it, and you are more likely to smoke. If you hang out with happier people, if you hang out with people that are more successful than you, if you hang out with people that run all the time, guess what happens? You become socialized to those positive behaviors. The fastest way to make a behavior change is to hang out with people that are positive, that are cheering for you, that are up to cool stuff, that are so busy and engaged in their life, they don't have time for passive aggressive because they're busy building something and being appreciative. And that's who you should hang out with. What do you do when you feel overwhelmed? Because your home life, your work life, your side hustle, trying to take care of yourself, you can't find the time. What I always do is I always come back to the basics. When you tip into overwhelm, go back to the basics. Start with a morning routine. I know the second that I am in overwhelm, which I am right now, I have lost the discipline of having a consistent morning routine. I still wake up without my phone. I still don't look at my phone, but I haven't taken those 30 minutes every morning for myself to plan my day. So I have been waking up, I don't look at my phone, but I go straight for the coffee. I think about what I need to do, and since every single day this week it's been a speech or a massive meeting, that's taken precedence, but I have not put in the discipline that I talk about all the time of just taking 30 minutes to plan what's important to me. You know when you start to say, I have to finish the newsletter. I have to work on my book. I have to do that thing that I need to do. I have to pick up my kids. I have to talk to. Switch have to with get to. It's a little word reversal that changes everything. I get to work on the newsletter this morning. And I get to write something that almost 400,000 people are going to read. I get to work on a book manuscript today as we fly to Orlando. I get to pick up my kids tomorrow when I land. I get to start to say I get to, because that switch of going, I have to, which adds weight and burden, switching it to I get to makes it privilege. It makes you be grateful about what you get to do, because honestly, it is a privilege, whatever it is that you're doing. And when you come from that place and you think this, I get to, not that, I have to, you will bring power to what you get to do. When people are passive aggressive, or they give you fake compliments, or they give you the silent treatment, typically that's fueled out of jealousy. And jealousy is nothing more than an emotion that people feel when you have something that they feel they deserve. And a lot of us feel jealousy because it's easier to be jealous of somebody and to stay in a negative state than it is to push yourself to do the work to get the thing that you want. And so it's almost like it's your unrealized dream showing up in your face. And what's also right in your face is the fact that somebody else worked for it and you haven't yet. And so instead of going, oh, note to self, time to start cheering for myself and use that example as something positive to motivate myself, a lot of people tend to be like, I hate you. I hate you because you have what I have. So here's what you're going to do when you deal with people that are passive aggressive or jealous. First of all, don't get triggered by it. That's their stuff. It's not your stuff. Second, you're doing the right thing. If people ask, share what worked for you. Third, distance yourself. You don't need to hang out with these people. If you're making positive changes in your life, hang out with the people that are cheering for you. Just because you've known people for years doesn't mean you have to hang out with them for the years to come. So distance yourself. And fourth, if it's really passive aggressive, say something. The reason why your life isn't changing is because your thinking isn't changing. If you wake up every morning and the first thought in your head is making yourself wrong, Why can't I just get out of bed? Why can't I just go exercise? Why can't I eat healthy? The reason why you can't change is because your thinking is stopping you. Feel the fear and do it anyway, that famous quote. I want to tell you a little bit about the science. So there's this famous neuroscientist called Antonio Damasio, and he did a really interesting study where he discovered that our body senses fear before our mind even realizes it. And when fear or danger, speaking to your boss, calling a prospect, going to the gym when you're not proud of the way that you look, and it's not fear like terror, it's more that low-grade agitation in your body. I felt it yesterday because I went to a boot camp class yesterday and I'm not in good shape and I don't do boot camp classes. And Kendall and I are staying at this hotel where, holy cow, everybody seems like there's some sort of professional weightlifter or Instagram model. And so it was really intimidating. And I could feel that agitation in my body. That's the kind of fear I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the paralysis fear your life is threatened and you really are in a life or death situation. I'm talking about the low-grade agitation that is there when you're about to do something that makes you feel a little uncomfortable. So when fear or danger is sensed in the body, your body begins a stress response before your mind even catches up. And if you want to take control of your life, you got to take control of that physical state. And it starts with catching these moments, everyone, when you start to feel it. For those of you that feel very overwhelmed because of home, work, side hustle, and you're a woman, you probably also feel guilty about taking time to work on your side hustle. That's because women, girls, we are raised to be good girls, we're raised to be good daughters, we're raised to be seen and not heard, we're raised to take care of people. It's socialized into you. And you see your mothers, by the way, also sacrifice everything to take care of everybody else and to put themselves last. This is a learned behavior. So if you also are a woman, you probably feel guilty for taking time for yourself. Stop that. You have to stop that. The reason why you have to stop that is, first of all, if you're a mom, you've got to show your daughters and your sons what it looks like to pursue your dreams. Secondly, as a woman, you're not going to get what you want if you're constantly putting guilt on yourself for taking time for yourself. And third, the only way you will discover the power and potential inside of you is if you push that generational to the side and you actually realize that your life is for you. That your mom, you know why she sacrificed everything she did? Because she wanted you to pursue your dreams. So knock it off with the guilt, because the guilt is also contributing to the overwhelm. The guilt is making you not talk to your partner or your boss or your colleagues or your friends about what you need for support. The guilt is adding weight to you not being able to carve out the time and be disciplined to find the time for yourself. And so it has got to go. You hear me? Get rid of it. Part of the self-awareness and self-mastery and the ability to move your life forward is not only in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, finding the instant motivation and courage to push yourself forward, but the true liberation and freedom is going to come when you start to understand the body signals that got programmed a long time ago in your body that are holding you back, and learning how in those moments when you get a pit in your stomach to recognize it and slow the body sensations down and then move forward before your mind starts talking you out of it. So a lot of what happens for us is you had situations when you were a kid. Maybe your mom or your dad were really intense. Maybe you grew up in a very competitive household. Maybe you were the kind of kid that things were better in your house when you were seen but not heard. And so and your body remembers it. Your body remembers situations when your parents were yelling, because as a kid it feels traumatic. Your body remembers situations where in a classroom you were nervous or afraid to be called out or be seen. Your body remembers moments when you were embarrassed. And so what's interesting is that your body will now face any situation where you're about to be seen or you're about to speak up or you're about to do something where you're facing uncertainty or you're about to face judgment. And your body remembers those situations and it starts to get nervous or agitated or on edge because it knows, oh my God, you're about to do something that's going to expose you, and your body wants to keep you safe. That's why your stomach starts to go grumbly. That's why your chest starts to get tight, because you are about to do something that exposes you. You're about to do something that is new. You're about to do something that is scary, and your body wants to try to protect you. Now, your body's misreading the situation, by the way. If you're in a situation where you should do something and the excuses roll in, you only have 5 seconds before the excuses win. Yeah. That's it. And it has to do with how your brain is designed. And so I started seeing this 5-second window everywhere. Everywhere. You walk into a networking meeting and the 5-second window is right there because you look around and you see all these people you should talk to and you feel yourself freeze. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you can start walking. If you're trying to sell something, the 5-second window is always there because you either have a phone you need to pick up and make a phone call, or you have a person you need to talk to, but instead of doing it, that 5-second window's right there and the excuses roll in and then you're not doing it.
Yep.
And so
it's almost like we talk ourselves out of it, right? After 5 seconds, like, why not to do it? All these excuses.
And then it's even more sophisticated than that, which is what I discovered. And what's more sophisticated about it is that you have 2 modes to your brain. You have the prefrontal cortex, which is the mode of your brain. It's the front part of your brain that does all your strategic planning, your decision-making, not all your decision-making, that's wrong. It does your intentional decision-making, conscious decision-making. It's what you're using when you're acting with courage. It's what you're using when you are learning anything new. If you've ever taken a standardized test, when you walk out of a standardized test, what do you have? You have a freaking headache because you've been using this part of your brain. That's the one part. The other part is the interior part of your brain, which automates everything. It's where self-doubt is. It's where habits are. It's where automated decision-making is. It's where every negative that we do, it's stuck right here. So what the 5-second rule is actually doing on a very sophisticated level is it's switching off this part and awakening the part that gives you control. And so the problem with our excuses, if you want to get into the brain science, is that if you start to think, and you start to think, I feel tired, or I don't want to, or I'm too stressed out, or now's not the right time, that becomes automatic and it gets encoded right here. So part of the problem with our excuses is that when you stop and think and hesitate, you trigger your brain to automatically talk you out of it. That's the problem. It's not the excuses, it's that your brain has done it over and over and now it takes over. Right. So I invented the world's most powerful cheat code for the brain. One night when I was drunk, sitting in my living room watching television. In order to make it stick, go brick by brick. One of the things that's interesting about having big dreams and big goals is that oftentimes the fact that the goals and the dreams that we have are so big, it makes them really, really difficult to achieve because you spend so much time thinking about how big the idea or the dream is that you become paralyzed in the moment around taking action. How do you build a house? By laying a foundation, brick by brick by brick. You go one small brick at a time. And it's exactly the same thing for your goals, by the way. So if you think about where you're at in this moment and you think about the path that will take you forward to your big dreams or to this change that you want to make. And I'm going to use the eating program as my example because this is daunting to me. I can come up with a million reasons right now, just like I'm sure you can come up with a million reasons why you can't run a marathon, you can't do the singing telegram business, you can't take nature pictures for a living, you can't be more connected to your husband, which is what Leanne wants, you can't launch that aromatherapy business. I can't possibly do a structured eating program with a scale right now because I travel too much, because I'm too busy, because I'm lazy, because I'm not deliberate like my bracelet. Remember my intent bracelet? I'm reminding myself to be deliberate, which is probably why I'm thinking about this program. The path between where I'm at and where you want to get to is the same. It is a brick path, and it is comprised of a ton of little bricks that come together to take me forward. And so when you think about a goal or you think about a dream as a million little bricks that come together and lay a path forward, that's the way visually you can break down your goals. And so for me, you know what that one brick could be today? It could be asking Chris or my brother-in-law for the phone number of the person. Not even making the call, people. I'm talking about breaking it down to one brick. So I will get that phone number and I will write it down in my little red book, or I will write it down in my 5-second journal. And that way I will have the number. And guess what the brick is going to be tomorrow? The brick tomorrow is going to be to call the guy, right? And make an appointment. And then the next brick might be to read a little bit. And so the key is going brick by brick to make it stick. Because if you think you can lay the whole path between where you're at and where you want to go right now, you're nuts. And I started thinking about luck because for a long time in my life, I started to think that luck was for other people, that luck was just one of those things that if you were lucky enough to be born with luck, you won the lottery, you got the job you wanted, your family got along. And the truth is, there's a tremendous amount of science behind luck, that luck is something that you can make for yourself, that you can become luckier based on the things that you do and the things that you think about. And one of the things about lucky people is a lot of lucky people make their luck because they have trained themselves to think optimistically. And one small trick that you can use in your life that is free, you can do it today, is when you go to bed tonight, before you go to sleep, I want you to write down one thing that happened today that was good. That's it. Every night before you go to bed, I want you to write down one thing that happened today that's good. In fact, let's do it right now. In the comments, go to the comments and tell me one thing that has happened today that you can think of that's good. Just one thing. Maybe you got up on time. Maybe you didn't have traffic today on the way to work. Maybe you haven't fought with your kids this morning. Maybe you got to the gym. Maybe you woke up and for the first hour of the day you didn't make yourself wrong. All of those things, while they're really little, don't dismiss them because those are things that are good. And the reason why I want you to start a practice where every night before you go to bed, or if you don't want to do it at night, do it in the morning, every night before you go to bed, write down one thing that happened today that was good. The reason why you're doing this is you are training yourself to start to spot the good. Believe it or not, training yourself to start to look for the good in your life fundamentally trains your mind away from looking at the negative so that you start seeing this thing that's positive about your life versus that thing that's negative about your life. And the secret to life, and this is so hard to grasp, is to just be yourself. That's the secret. There's only one you. There's only ever going to be one you. There's never going to be another you. And the way you make your mark in this world, the way that you learn how to believe in yourself, the way that you discover the people that you're supposed to surround yourself with, the job that you or career path that you're supposed to have, is by being the real you. Mel, I got fired from a job I was really excited about. What should I do? Excellent question. First of all, how many of you have ever been fired from a job? Yep, I have been fired from a job, and let me tell you something. It's a kick in the teeth, doesn't it? There's nothing that feels worse in the moment than being brought into a conference room and being let go. And then how bad does it blow to pack up your stuff and to leave? It stings. It is terrible. It is humiliating. There is nothing around it. There's nothing around that feeling. Even if it's a job that you can't stand. Even if it's a job where you've been looking for another job. Even if you know in your heart that this is the biggest blessing in disguise because you didn't really like it there. You still want to be the one to rip off the Band-Aid, don't you? You want to be the one to walk in and be like, guess what, people? I found a different job. I'm out of here. So when they beat you to the punch and they tell you the truth, that this isn't working, it's not working for them, it's not working for you, and now it's time for you to leave, it is still a kick in the teeth. So I want to be clear about something. Feeling down, feeling embarrassed, feeling angry about how it was handled, even if they handled it in the way that is legal, That is normal. It's normal because it blows to be rejected. And that's exactly what happens to you emotionally when you get fired from a job. I get that because boy, oh boy, have I been there. I have been fired from jobs that I actually liked. I have been fired from jobs that I needed. And I have been fired from jobs that I viscerally hated, that I was physically sick going to work every morning. I hated it so much. And it still stinks when you're fired. So here's what I want you to do when you're fired. I want you to really just relish in how much it stinks for, I don't know, an hour. No more than 24 hours. You get to milk this puppy for free, a free dinner from your pals at night. You get to milk this and complain about it to all your friends for 24 hours. And then guess what? You got to stop complaining about it. You got to stop thinking about it because you don't have a choice anymore. The job is over, and I don't want you looking back. I want you looking forward. Now, before you look forward, though, I want you to do one of the signature things that we talk about all the time. And what is that? I want you to look for the message in the mess. What is it that you learned about yourself or about a job or a boss or a kind of work that you need to make sure you understand the message in the mess? Because when you get the emotion out of the way, guess what you always see about a job or a breakup that happens? You always see that that was exactly what was supposed to happen. That job, that person, that manager, that focus, that was holding you back. And you were just too scared to take the leap. You were too worried about finances. You were worried about how it looked. I've been there, I get it. But you need to see the message in the mess because I don't want you to make the mistake and step into the exact same thing or the exact same type of job or the exact same management situation that didn't work the first time, because part of the reason why jobs don't work is it's not a fit. You see, people get fired for a lot of reasons. Some of the reasons why people get fired is because the companies are not doing well. And in that case, you want to thank your lucky stars that you're getting out now so that you can find something better. If it's not a fit, that's a more nuanced reason to get fired. But let me tell you something. If it's not a fit for the company, it wasn't a fit for you either. And so look for the message in the mess. What are you going to learn about this situation, whether there was a skill gap and you need to bring your skills up to speed so that you're not floundering your next job, or maybe it was a personality gap, that you accepted something that in your heart you knew wasn't right, but you took it because you had to or because you felt insecure. Don't make that mistake again. You know that wave that you feel, or your tongue gets numb, or you get tightness in your cheeks, or you freeze? You know when that happens? Based on the science, there is only a 90-second chemical release in your body. It's called the 90-second rule. When your stomach starts to flutter, when your heart starts to race, when you feel this feeling of fear that you have that's unique to you, based on the science, there's a 90-second rule, and all of the chemical release that's happening, because your body is going into a state of being alert, it only sticks around for 90 seconds. As long as you don't let your thoughts race. If your thoughts start to race, you'll start to agitate the situation. The next time that your body goes into a state of alert, stomach gets tight, you feel frozen, you get stuck, you feel your neck, when the body starts to do that, number one, just remember, it means your body is getting ready to be alert and pay attention. And it does not mean you're going to lose control. It does not mean you're in danger. It does not mean to stop or to shut up. I want you to take a deep breath. Count to 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's it. And realize that the hormones that just got released because you're about to do something, they only last 90 seconds. That's it. You can breathe slowly. You can count to 90. You can get up and walk around. You can do 90 seconds of jumping jacks. You can meditate for 90 seconds. You can ground your feet in your chair and wiggle a minute so that you feel your body in your chair. And take deep breaths. And what you're going to find is that you're going to be blown away. You're going to be blown away because what you're going to see is that In 90 seconds flat, you can go from being somebody who has an upset stomach and who would normally not go talk to your boss, who would normally not walk into that gym, who would normally not make that call. In 90 seconds flat, you can manipulate your body state to calm down, and you will notice that your thoughts do not race. Your thoughts calm down, you're in full control, and now you can speak up, and now you can show up. The truth is, if you want control in your life, if you want to make things happen, you have to be able to expect that you're going to get a no and do it anyway. So what do I mean when I say, if you want control, expect a no? Well, there's a couple things that I mean by it. Number one, if you're somebody that gets paralyzed because you want things to be perfect, perfectionism is a way that most of us try to handle or mitigate or make sure that we don't hear no. We assume that if we're perfect, everything's going to go okay. And so we spend all of our energy thinking about our dating profile or thinking about the business plan or thinking about how to make things perfect. And the reason why we do that is we're terrified to hear no. We're terrified to put something out there that's not perfect, because if it's not perfect, you might get a no. One of the better ways to handle this is to actually expect a no. You know, I saw the most incredible quote by our friend Faustina over in Australia. She's a very famous DJ and friend of ours from Australia. And she put out the most amazing quote, and I'm going to get it totally wrong, but it's something like this. You have to be yourself, because how else are the people who are looking for you going to find you? And I think particularly when it comes to dating, what we tend to do is we are so afraid of being rejected by anybody out there that we try to be somebody that we're not, that we put out a fake, improved, or what we think is improved version of ourselves in order to not hear no. And most of us pretend to be somebody that we're not when we fear rejection, when we believe that how we are or who we are isn't good enough. And so that's why it's so important for you to understand that you have to be willing to hear a no. You have to be willing to hear a no from the wrong people, so that the people that are looking for you can find you, so that the people who want to be part of your business can be part of your business. If you're putting a fake person out there or a pretend perfect person out there because you think that's going to save you from rejection, you're actually screwing yourself over. Here's your new definition of passion. Passion is simply energy. That's all that it is, okay? Passion is what you feel when you are energized and excited about what you're doing, okay? I want you to think about that for a minute. I want you to think about a moment in time when you felt incredibly passionate about something, okay? And why don't you in the comments tell me where are you watching from, and tell me about a moment in time when you felt incredibly passionate about what you were doing, about where you were, about the people that you were with. Describe that moment for me, because when you start to really investigate passion as energy, this is what you're going to discover. Those moments when you were super passionate, like I'm sure my kids would write down when they're doing community theater with all their friends. I would write down whenever I'm doing any kind of creative project with my team, I'm incredibly energized. Whenever I'm doing group exercise stuff, climbing a mountain, doing a 5K race, doing some sort of walkathon, I'm incredibly energized by that. Whenever I'm doing some sort of creative project, incredibly energized by that. Whenever I'm working with our video team, incredibly energized by that. Whenever I am coaching someone or giving advice, I am incredibly energized by that. And so what I want you to understand is that if you look back on your life, you have had moments where you have felt passion. Now, I'm being very deliberate in how I'm talking this morning on Coffee Talk, because passion is a huge topic for so many of you. And you've been so focused on trying to figure out what job is going to make me passionate. What job is my passion? What is my purpose on the earth? I'm going to tell you what your purpose on earth is right now. Your purpose on earth is to figure out how to align your life so that you feel more energized and excited by it. That's it. And it begins with you following the energy and following your natural enthusiasm. You're not going to think your way to passion. You can't think your way to finding something that you feel in your heart. It doesn't work that way. You got to feel your way into it. It's inside of you. Do you understand? There's no passion out there somewhere. The passion is in here. And so what you have to do first is you've got to stop thinking that you're going to find it somewhere. And you've got to realize that passion is about unlocking something that's already in you. My mind can be my worst enemy. I was laying in bed last night and I had fallen asleep and I kept waking up. And you know what I was thinking about? I was waking up because I could hear people in the hallway kind of coming in from a late night of partying. And you know what the first thing that my mind defaulted to? There being a fire in the hotel. And I started having these visions of my daughter and I going down the stairwell and getting trapped. And then I had visions of us being on the balcony on this room and fire kind of engulfing. And what are we doing? Are we tying a rope? I mean, it's just insanity, absolute insanity. And I used the techniques that I teach you. I went 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I am not thinking about this. And the thought disappeared because I constantly reset my mindset. And, you know, one of the reasons why I'm telling you this is if you are tired of feeling negative, if you feel often that your own thoughts are the things that trip you up in life, that you wish that your mind were more positive, I'm telling you that I'm the same way. Just because I teach this stuff, just because I study this, just because I do what I do for a living, doesn't make me immune to what it means to be human. And what it means to be human is that your brain and your body want you to survive. Your brain and your body remember situations that scare the daylights out of you. Your brain and your body try to talk you out of anything that makes you feel risky. And your brain, given that it has been trained by situations in the past, and given that you allow it to worry all the time, you have a habit of doing it, if you're not careful and you're not deliberate, your brain will default to scary crap like mine was last night. That doesn't mean you're broken. It means that your brain is thinking something that's broken, and it's time for you to reset your mindset and pull it back. Do you know what the one strategy that is associated with making more money for women? Do you know what is one strategy that will help you make more money as a woman when you work in a company? You can put it in the comments. You can guess. No, it's not working longer hours. No, it's not taking the notes in the meeting. No, it's not doing everybody else's work for them. The one strategy based on research that will actually translate to you making more money is making sure your achievements are known. And I want to dig deeper into this because there are two kinds of work, right? Two kinds of work. I want you to shift your paradigm and the way that you think about work, because you do two kinds of work. You do work that is visible, and that is the work that you get credit for. So visible work consists of the ideas that you share in a meeting. It consists of the things that you talk to your boss about. It consists of the work that you're doing that people see. It consists of the results that you generate that are reported and discussed. And most importantly, it consists of the projects that you are working on that are strategically aligned with the goals of the company that people know about. Invisible work, on the other hand, is all the stuff you don't get credit for. So all those folks that you mentor in private, you're not getting credit for that. You should still do it, but I'm going to tell you how to do it differently. Answering the same question over and over and over again for multiple people on telephone calls, that's invisible. You only make one change this year in your career. I want you to take on a habit of making sure your accomplishments are known, that the things that you're doing are more visible. So the 5-second rule is a self-coaching tool. That's all that it is.
Okay.
And it's something that I invented literally 20 feet from here in my bedroom, although that bedroom wasn't built back then. It was something that I invented to beat my habit of hitting the snooze button. And the way that it works is very simple. the moment that you need to do something and you can feel yourself hesitating and you can feel the excuses rolling in, count backwards to yourself, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and something weird will happen. The moment you get to 1, you'll actually move. And I invented it by mistake. I invented it during, I think, the worst moment of my life, which was 2008. Chris and I, my husband of 22 years, we were about to lose everything.
Wow.
His restaurant business was going under. I had just been fired from a job, my first job in the media business. So I was just wallowing in self-doubt because I thought, boy, have I really screwed up. I had changed my career, taken a risk, gone into the media business. It didn't work out. I felt like a total loser. I felt like I made a big mistake. We had 3 children, mortgage to pay. The entire house had been used to leverage the business. So had our life savings, so had the kids' college savings. I mean, just on the verge of losing it all. Chris was sleeping on the couch, and I just couldn't get out of bed. And so I invented this thing, the 5-second rule, one night when I saw a rocket ship fly across a television screen at the end of a commercial, and it gave me this idea. And the idea was, I wonder if I launched myself out of bed so fast, I wonder if I could move fast enough that I could beat the self-doubt and anxiety that I felt every single morning when I would wake up. And it was really that dumb and that simple of an idea. And for whatever reason, when the alarm went off that next morning, what happened is what happens to all of us all day long. Inspiration strikes, so the alarm goes off, and use the alarm clock as a metaphor for those moments when you know you should do something. And the alarm goes off, and what's interesting is most of us don't have a problem with what we need to do. It's how we make ourselves do the shit that's hard. So the alarm went off, and immediately my mind woke up, and my mind started spinning, as our minds do.
Yeah.
And I started immediately thinking, like most of us do when the alarm goes off, I don't want to get up. It's cold. I don't want to face the day. I'm unemployed. And then the body starts to kind of get a little tense when anxiety comes in, or you start to feel overwhelmed about the you got to deal with. And I felt myself reaching for the snooze alarm like I always did. But that morning I went 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And by the time I hit 1, I was standing up, and I was kind of freaked out because why would something so simple work? But I went on with my day. And I used it the next morning and the next morning and the next morning. And then I started to wonder, God, I see that it works as a cheat for the alarm clock, but I wonder if it could work for other things. So I started to use it for every moment in my life where I knew what to do, but I didn't feel like it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 literally just decimates any excuse that you have. And as I started to use it in my life to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, not be an asshole to Chris. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, turn and walk away from the bourbon and not have a drink. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, pick up the phone and network. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, walk out the door and go to the gym. Everything changed because my decisions changed. You know what my dream was? My dream someday was to be a talk show host. And I was always embarrassed to admit it because it seemed so implausible. I mean, it seemed, how on earth does one even do that? And see, that's the thing about dreams, is that your dreams, they matter. And in order to achieve them, you're going to have to be able to have the courage to be brave enough to actually state what your dreams are. Because if you can't own them, you don't deserve them. So let me talk to you about Dan. So Dan was the first person in Take Control that I coached, and he is a super successful guy. He loves what he's doing right now. He is, I think, the world's best phys ed teacher. He's a total pro at it. He loves his students. He's been doing it a long time, but he is starting to panic about the next chapter of his life. He's starting to panic about the fact that, time is ticking and I love what I do, but I'm not sure this is my true calling. How do I figure it out? How do I make sure that I don't wake up at the age of 70 or 80 or 90 and realize that I never actually went for the thing that I really love. And a lot of times going for the thing that you really love doesn't mean quitting your job. It means figuring out how to be more focused and deliberate in your life so that you can start to add in incremental progress every day on inching forward that side hustle, that passion project, that book you've always wanted to write. And so one of the first takeaways from Dan's coaching session, one of the first takeaways is busyness. And we take a look at the fact that, yeah, there are a lot of you that are really busy because you got a lot going on. And then there is the type of busyness that we keep in our lives, because by being busy, you convince yourself that you're in control. By being busy, you fill up your life so much that you also have an excuse for never, ever, ever having the time to do the thing that scares you, which is to write the book, start that passion project, work on your side hustle. And so you got to be very careful if you're somebody who feels like you're busy all the time, to understand that busyness can become a habit and busyness can become your biggest excuse. The problem with passion is that you and I have bought into this massive fantasy world where we think that passion is a person or a place or a thing, that somehow, like a needle in a needle in a haystack, that you are somehow just going to stumble into the thing and you're going to find that one person, or you're going to find that one thing that you're meant to do, or you're going to find that career. And honestly, we got to change the way that you think about passion and purpose before you will actually be able to bring it into your life. Because the truth is, passion isn't in a person, it isn't in a place, and it isn't in a thing. It's something inside of you. And when you flip the definition of what passion is, and when you actually understand what you're looking for, when you say, I want to discover my passion, then you'll be able to create more of it in your life.
People can smell a phony a million miles away.
Yep.
And what will make you successful is following the thing that naturally energizes you, because it's unique to you.
Yeah.
And when your energy is expansive, you will naturally attract people that want that same feeling.
Yeah.
It's really that simple. It doesn't feel that simple when you're stuck. I get that.
Yeah.
And I can sit here and say it's that simple, but I'm 20-some years into the trajectory of figuring it out.
Yeah.
But hell, I wish I had known this shit when I was 18.
Yeah.
I would have saved myself a world of hurt.
If you want another amazing Mel Robbins video, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
I wake up every morning. Espresso keep me going. I wake up every morning.